My name is Kwayam Tomo, which means speaks for her people. It was a name given to me by the Tla'amin elders. My English name is Denise Smith, and I'm a treaty negotiator for the Tla'amin First Nation. I also sit as a member of council currently in this new term. Well, I think we need a constitution because for as long as our people can remember, we've been governed by other people's laws. So for example, we get funded by the Department of Indian Affairs, and with that comes rules and regulations on how we spend their money. We live under the federal law. Sometimes we act under provincial law. So we have laws that we're bound by, but we've never had an actual Tla'amin law that we govern ourselves by. So if you think about it in those terms, we need a constitution that spells out our own way we want to do things. We know that we had laws in the past, for example. We know that our elders had teachings and laws that they followed. That's how they survived for thousands of years. They knew how to conduct themselves and behave so that they would survive. So what we've done is taken those values and beliefs, what we call our ta'o, our teachings, and we've written them down, and we've written them down into our constitution. So that will guide us into our future. The end result of it was that we did have a ratification vote, a full vote in the community, and the Constitution passed by a pretty good margin. I'm guessing between 60 and 70%, somewhere around there is what it was ratified by. So we know that the community wanted it, and they voted yes for it. So now the responsibility is on government to implement it and make use of the Constitution. The beginning of the document, there's what's called a declaration or a preamble. Basically, that's a statement of who we are as a people. So we are Coast Salish people. We've governed ourselves all our lives. We had laws, values, and beliefs. We live here. This is our territory, and we have a right to govern it and protect it. So basically, the preamble was a statement of who we are as a people. Here, when you talk to the community and you listen to them at any different kind of meeting, doesn't matter where you're at. Things that come out consistently are, I want to be treated fairly. I want my government to be open and honest and transparent. And I want equality. So those are big values that our people want. If you ask any person in Tla'amin what they want, you'll probably come down to a few things that everybody wants. To be treated fairly. To know that when you go in the door, doesn't matter who you are or what family you come from, you are going to be treated the same. There's a common set of rules, regulations, procedures, policies, and laws that apply to everybody. Well, the government is our chief in council presently. We have a chief in council who govern our nation and administer programs and services for its people. So the Constitution, you have to remember, the Constitution was a requirement of the Tla'amin Final Agreement. So in order for us to reach final agreement, we had to have a Constitution in place. The Constitution will apply to our government and to our people. So the government will need to follow the Constitution, and everything we do has to keep in mind what we said in the Constitution, because what our people need to hear is that we did it for a reason. We created a Constitution for a reason. We expect it to be used. So you won't see the laws in the Constitution or policies and procedures. Those will be developed as we go along. But when we develop them, they need to keep in mind what we said in the Constitution. So it's an overarching umbrella over our whole community, including our leadership. Well, basically, it is about accountability and transparency. Over the years, we've heard consistently concern about money management, and wealth and distribution and fairness in how the band deals with its money. So as I mentioned earlier, the same door, you go in the same door and out the same door, and you get treated the same way. So there's an expectation on our leadership that they will handle our finances smartly and consistently and fairly, and be able to report to our funders that we've spent the money properly. And then if you think down the road treaty, or even now in business, for example, we have a forestry company, we have a development corporation. Money comes and goes and changes hands. So our people need to know that those decisions are being made properly and fairly and transparently. So currently, for example, the band has been working on a financial administration law that will spell out how money gets spent and how people access money and how we put away money for future generations even. So as part of our building and getting ready for self-government under a treaty, the financial administration law is one part of it, but there will be other parts as well as we go along. Tla'amin needs to get to final agreement, vote on the final agreement, and then the Constitution gets enacted when the treaty gets enacted. It happens at the same time. But it does contemplate some changes in our government. Right now we have a chief and council. We have a chief and 9-10 councillors. The Constitution contemplates changes in our government. We would have an executive council, for example. We would have, it would look different for our people. It'll look more like the provincial government. And that's difficult for people to understand and comprehend, so we'll need to talk about that over and over again and make sure that the community understands how our leadership is changing, if we want them to change that way. The reality is it's our leadership and our community. If we think that's too much change and it's going to create fear, then we don't have to do it that way. And an interesting note is that in the actual Constitution document, we do talk about disputes and appeals, so that if somebody feels they've been wronged or treated unfairly, there is a process for them to go. And in all of our programs and services and functions as a government, there has to be an appeal process. There has to be a dispute process so that people can come and be heard and hopefully get resolution to issues that may be bothering them. So when we're developing laws, we need to make sure that we're going to the community and we're asking them questions. For example, if I'm developing a law around roads, and there's a road going right by your house, you're going to want to have a say, right? You're going to want to know you're safe, your family's safe, your children are safe. So communication means that we're going to the community when we need to and when we have to. And we also have open ears when people want to come to us and just want to talk, want to share how they're feeling or share their ideas. So it's a really big thing for Tla'amin Nation right now. As we grow, we're getting bigger and bigger. We have more organizations, more entities, more staff. We have people that don't live here. They live, off reserve or in other places. And how do we tell them what we're doing? How do we get their input and get their advice? So in this new modern world, we're needing to get a little bit more creative. So now we have websites, we have Facebook, we have Skype and Twitter, and we do newsletters, and we even go to communities. We go to Vancouver sometimes and over to the island and go to our people and talk to them. So as we grow, communication is going to get bigger and bigger, and we need to address it. We need to do it properly. So we're not duplicating and we're not, just doing a little bit here and there. We need to do it well. Nothing stopping us from using it now. Every law, every policy, that we develop should be using the Constitution, because we've already gone through the process of getting people's feelings on that, so we should be using it now.